Call this meeting of the Fremont County Commissioners to order. If you'll please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Commissioner Grantham.
Here.
County Attorney Jackson.
Present.
County Manager Bryant.
Present.
Planning and Zoning Director Garrett.
Present. All right, thank you. Before we approve the agenda, we may need to make an addition under the consent agenda. We're going to renumber here, and number 6 will be the addition of an assignment of resolution number 9 to the Brenda Gale Price abatement of taxes.
It's Barbara Gale Price.
Oh, I'm sorry. It does say Barbara.
It does.
Thank you. And then we'll move the scheduling of public hearings to number 7. With that, I would ask for approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve today's agenda with the change you just mentioned to the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with the adjustment. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
On to the consent agenda, which we just added the one item to. And I would also like to note out that we are scheduling today 3 public hearings for March 9th. They will be at 10 o'clock on March 9th. One is for what is CDP? Commercial Development Plan for yard crafters, a special review use for Howard Creek Farm, and a special review for Desert Reef Hot Springs modification.
Mr. Chair, I would move for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded for approval of the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, on to administrative and informational. We'll start with County Clerk's monthly report. Clerk Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Total motor vehicle fees, sales tax, and recording fees collected for January of this year are $1,143,378.58. Of that, Fremont County's portion for disbursement is $661,246.27, which is 58% of the total fees and is $27,096.10 more than last January. This year, we're up $27,096.10.
Wow. Up is a good thing.
Up is always a good thing when we're talking about collections.
On that aspect.
Yes, exactly. Mr. Chair, I move to accept the county clerk's report for the month of January 2021 with thanks to everyone in his department for continuing to do a great job.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded to accept the clerk's monthly January report. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we will have County Manager Sunny Bryant and her report. Good morning.
All right, good morning. So just a couple of quick updates. The construction of the second floor for the courtroom house project is underway. So that project was funded by an underfunded courthouse grant and a Department of Local Affairs grant. And then the county has money from our sales and use tax grant. So we've reached the level to where we need an additional courtroom. And thankfully, when that courthouse was built, they were forward thinking and actually left some unfinished space there. So we're able to finish that space and provide that needed courtroom. And then the second item is the Pathfinder Park Community Center design is at 65% completion. So we met with them a couple weeks ago and looked at that design. So that process is moving along, and we're hopeful that everything stays on schedule. And right now it's scheduled to be completed in October of this year, which will be a great addition to our community out there. And then our office is just working to close out the 2020 fiscal year, and so we're processing all the invoices. But as of right now, all of the numbers and everything are coming in where we anticipated, and things are looking very good. So,
Good deal. I'm going to go on into sales and use tax.
all right. So the retail sales tax collections for the month of December. So in December, it came in at $646,571. Let me zoom in a little bit on that one so it's not so little. which is up $113,930 from last year. So year-to-date, we ended up $1,096,975 from last year, and actually $1,434,844 from where we had budgeted. So we've been monitoring these. We're determining at this point exactly what that breakout was between the online sales versus in the county sales. And so we'll have those numbers here over the next few months to really get that squared away. So this actually is broke out, 75% stays in the general fund, and then 25% goes into a sales and use tax fund. And so the sales and use tax fund is one of the funds we're using to pay for some of these capital projects that we have going on over the next year or two. So the auto use tax collections, as Clerk Grantham has reported, we were up and down throughout the year. We actually ended the year at $7,730 more than what we had collected in last year. We were up $7,557 in comparison to budget. And then the construction use tax, we received our final distribution from the municipalities, so the total came in at $428,113, which is up $10,805 from last year. And our budget, we're up $97,113 from where we had budgeted. The lodging tax, the total collections came in at $229,000, which is down $25,977 from last year. We're hopeful that this year we get back on track and see those increases. But the Tourism Council has budgeted appropriately, and so they responded very well to those declining numbers. And I feel they had a productive year, even though they did see those budget cuts. And then on to the sheriff 1% sales tax collections. So the retail sales tax for December came in at $431,047. Year to date, we were up $731,316 in those sales tax revenues, which is $988,138 above where we had budgeted for those collections. The auto use tax collections in the sheriff fund came in December at $68,673. Year to date, we were up $5,155 and down just slightly in comparison to where the budget had come in. And then last, the construction use tax collections for the sheriff fund in December came in at $49,910, which is up $29,610 from last year. Year to date, we were up $8,232 in comparison to 2019, and then in comparison to budget, it was up $56,456. So all in all, everything looked very good last year. Like I said, we'll be anxious to see the breakout of, what was local versus what those online sales were, to see how all of that went.
I think no matter how that breaks down, it will be interesting to see the results of that, but no matter how it breaks down, there's some communities across the country and probably even in Colorado that are struggling. Some counties have had to basically get rid of, lay off half of their folks and stuff. It's been pretty traumatic in a lot of places, so I guess we're lucky. People's buying habits they've changed because I think they're probably more online than local, but they're still buying stuff. You see FedEx, UPS, and the mail trucks are running crazy all the time, 7 days a week. So it's pretty interesting.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
Sonny, thank you. I look forward to seeing the breakout of those numbers, and we talked about this yesterday. Because it's a significant increase with the sales tax revenues for both the regular sales tax and the sheriff's sales tax. I mean, we're talking 20%, 18 to 20% year over year from 18 to 19 and 19 to 20. That's huge. And it's obviously has to do with those online sales and the increase, adding that in because they weren't being collected to the extent that they are now. And the growth on that from 19 to 20, essentially matching the growth from the prior year. I'm a little worried, I guess, when we start seeing those numbers because of what we see with the lodging tax. if people have shifted their buying habits online over this last 12 months at the expense of local retailers. That's a little troubling. I share a little bit of the optimism I think that the chairman has, that, at least people still have some buying power here in the county and are still spending their money. But all those trucks are a good sign and a bad sign. Hopefully, the numbers aren't too skewed when we see the breakout between the local sales tax and the online receipts. So we'll wait and see. Now, do you have an anticipated turnaround on that?
So we can actually have that done fairly quickly.
Okay.
So, yeah, we should be able to, I can report that to the commissioners in between the next two meetings, but report it to the community at the next commissioner meeting.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bell? Anything
No, I
you'd
think
like
you
to
both covered it pretty well.
Okay, so,
Commissioner, I have something.
pardon?
I have something, if you
Okay.
don't mind. I was on a meeting a few days, or over the past 2 weeks, with Department of Revenue, more in particular their Division of Motor Vehicle, talking about what we call as print-on-demand plates. And those are all the plates, if nobody knows, all the plates for the state of Colorado is done here locally in one of our prisons, the Territorial Prison here a few blocks down. And print-on-demand plates are in particular only those that are processed at the prison. These are specialized plates, such as you personalize your plate, or the specialty plates, Rockies plates, Pioneer plates, stuff like that. They have been in massive outbreaks of COVID, audits, machinery breaking down. They are backed up to the month of October. So if you have expired temporaries, or you're waiting on your plates because you've purchased them, their expected completion date to catch up is the end of March. So I just want to give people a heads up. If you do have expired temporaries from my office, please come in and we'll issue you new ones free of charge. Make sure you keep your receipts on you. If you have printed on-demand plate, or you have on-demand plates and you purchased them online, please keep those receipts with you. And just, there was a news casting last week from News 9 up in Denver, that people were starting to get ticketed for not having plates and having expired temporaries. So please keep your information on you if you have purchased them online, and the estimated due date, like I said, for them to catch up, because they're adding workers and working around the clock, is the end of March.
It could be an explanation why I saw a November expired temporary tag. They probably ordered some of those.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. All right, thanks for that information. With us today, we have Sarah Miller and Amy Jamison from the Health Department. Our Health Director couldn't be here today, but ask Sarah or Amy to come up and give us a report on the Health Department, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. As of 8 a.m. this morning, we had 2,288 total community cases. 94 are active in the last 14 days. We have a total of 2,956 DOC/BOP cases. We have a total of 122 hospitalizations. 26 of those are active, and we've had a total of 40 deaths. Patients vaccinated is 1,543. Vaccines administered is 1,873. So 330 people have received first and second doses from us. And to date, MACO has tested 12,325 people. They're testing about 60 to 150 people a day. Testing has kind of dropped off. But they're still, I think the lowest day I saw was 53, so they're still testing a good amount of people. We're working on some mass vaccination clinics. This Saturday, February 13th, we're doing a 1,400 dose clinic. We'll be doing 140 doses an hour for 10 hours. On Thursday, we're doing another walkthrough clinic in our office. We're doing about 500 people that day. We plan to do a couple mass vaccination clinics for the school districts and the licensed childcare facilities. We're looking at March 16th and 18th for those. And I believe we've already requested and been approved for the doses for those.
I got 2 questions for you right quick on the event that's Saturday. Are those people that are on your list currently that are being invited?
Yes, they're from the 70+ wait list. And then if there's anyone that was in 1A or 1B that hadn't already got it can also get on.
And then the other thing, it was scheduled to be up at Harrison School, I believe, and the forecast looked pretty good, and then all of a sudden it changed. It's supposed to be just in the teens that day. So what has taken place?
Michael has
for that?
contingency plans, so I believe we're going to have a big tent from Canyon Rental with heaters. So Michael's got it all planned out. There'll be heaters and tents, and if all else fails, trailers with heaters in them. I think those of us that are doing data entry will be inside the school in the hallway, so everyone will be able to get warm.
And so is that still a drive-through? They're driving
Yes.
through and get their shots so that people can sit in their warm cars in?
Yeah, they'll
Okay.
stay in their cars.
Thank you.
Yep. February 8th, we started our wait list for those that are 65 and above. As of 4 p.m. yesterday, we had roughly 295 people on that list. We moved to yellow on the dial as of February 5th. As of yesterday, our incidence rate has moved down to the blue. Our percent positivity is also in blue. Our hospitalization is still in the yellow level. According to the dashboard, we have to have all in blue for 2 weeks. However, if our incident rate stays in blue, Kayla's going to reach out to the state and see if there's a possibility we can move to the blue before that 2 weeks. I think that's everything I have.
One other thing I'd just like to note, you said the amount of shots given from you guys. There's other Valley Views given, or Valley Wides given shots. The hospital are given shots. Through the pharmacy program, I believe some of the long care facilities are given shots. I know my in-laws got their 2nd shot yesterday. So there's a lot more people in the community that have had 2 shots. So appreciate what you guys are doing along with the other entities too.
Yeah, I believe Dr. Button's office, City Market, and Safeway are also giving vaccinations now.
Awesome.
What's the major difference between the green and the blue?
So we're in yellow now, and
I'm
then
sorry.
there's blue.
Yellow and blue.
I don't know. Not off the top of my head. I think the capacities are a little higher. Amy, do you know right off the top of your head?
From 50, that's what I think it is as well. And the indoor gatherings is a little bit bigger too, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Is that all? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yep.
Okay, I got one thing I want to tag on to Sunny's report a little bit, and I may take your thunder again because I know you wanted to say something
Probably.
too. But Pathfinder Park is still an exciting opportunity that we've got a building going up out there, but we do have a groundbreaking schedule for March 2nd for that. So I'm going to try to get out there and make Kevin dig as big a hole as we can, since he's the new guy, because he's always talking about the new guy.
I am the new guy, so I get to do the ditch digging.
Get ready for the foundation. But anyway, that's pretty exciting. One other thing was yesterday, down here in this room, the sheriff, and it had invited us, he had some badge pinning ceremonies. There were, I believe there were 6. Some of them were new deputies and some of them were promoted deputies. And that was pretty cool to see that, and appreciate those individuals for stepping up and serving in our community and keeping us safe. Commissioner Beth?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo something that Sarah mentioned, and that was Fremont County being able to go back to yellow level rather than orange that we had been at. We have been fighting with the state and with CDPHE over the level and over where they place us for many months. One of our continuing and ongoing arguments is they can't figure out how to separate our DOC and Bureau of Prisons numbers from what's happening within the community. And so I just want to let you all know we continue to fight with them pretty much every single day. Our local Department of Public Health has really stepped up in that argument, and they're keeping their own numbers, they're tracking things, tracing things, and having that argument with them also on an almost daily basis. So I just know a lot of folks are curious if those inmate numbers are counted against us as a community, and From CDPHE's perspective, yes, they are. We don't understand why, because they're locked away. They're not actually inside our community. So I want to tell the entire community really thank you for all the hard work that you've done. We are all sick to death of wearing masks. We understand that, but I continue to wear mine as well. And so I just want to say thank you for everything that you're all doing to help keep all of us safe.
Commissioner Grantham?
Yeah, I'd love to double down on that. Just the local health department, I talked with Kaylee yesterday about the DOC stuff again, and how much that had to do with our going down to yellow if we actually got those numbers taken out finally, so that we could get moved down to yellow. And if she hears this, or hopefully I am not mischaracterizing what she said, the answer to that question was yes, no, and sort of.
Yep.
Because the reality is, as Commissioner Bell said, they aren't removing those numbers yet officially with CDPHE. But Kayla and her crew over there have been working real hard. I want to say with, but it's really not with the state. It's
against,
in
maybe?
spite of the state, and convincing them to move us down to yellow despite what the hard numbers are, which include DOC. And so the reality is that our health department folks are working very hard to try to get us at least within the guidelines that are sent down to us by the state, trying to work within those parameters and get us open back up to the best ability that we can. And I think if we're actually able to get those DOC numbers excluded, I think we will see us opening up even further and further and being able to stay rock solid in those lower levels. And so just want to give my appreciation to our health department folks and what they're doing to try to fight what the state parameters are locking us into here. And despite those hard numbers, they've convinced them to let us move down into the yellow level, and hopefully down into whichever level I misstated before.
Yeah. Into blue and the green.
Blue
Yeah.
and green.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you.
I think it's important to note that she was talking about those three matrix, and we've met two of them. The other one is the hospitalizations, which includes DOC and FOB inmates. So that one is skewing the community. So it is a
Right.
frustration.
Right.
It's a frustration for sure. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to citizens who wish to address the commissioners on matters not scheduled on today's agenda. If you're here for the public hearing, we'll have those in a little bit, but this is anything that's not on the agenda. No takers, all right. We'll move on. There is no old business. We have one item of new business, and it is the extension of the Fremont County Local Disaster Emergency Declaration. We have done this, I think this is the 12th time now, because we went into, we declared a local disaster emergency when the state went into a disaster emergency. What that does, the biggest part of this to me, is it allows the county the ability to get funds from the state and federal entities because of the emergency disaster. There is some other stuff in there that is also pertinent, but that's the biggest one for me. We're looking today, we've had to renew this every 30 days. With this resolution today, it would renew it automatically every 30 days until the emergency declaration goes away. We do still have the ability to amend it, cancel it, do whatever we need to do with it. But we've had to have special meetings in between our regular meetings, and they're like 5-minute meetings to just renew this. So this would do it automatically. We're going to leave it on our agenda where we discuss it monthly because we don't want it to get lost. We don't want it to be hidden. We want it to be completely open. So we're going to have it on our agenda, but it will renew automatically. So is there any other discussion on that, commissioners? If not, I would entertain a motion for extension of the declaration.
Sure, Mr. Chair. We need a resolution number.
10?
10? All right, I move to approve Resolution Number 10, Series of 2021, to amend the declaration of the local disaster emergency, presently set to expire on February 22nd at midnight, extending the declaration in 30-day increments for the duration of the declaration of a state disaster emergency by the state of Colorado.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to extend the Fremont County local disaster emergency declaration. That was a mouthful.
And you said it so well.
I know. And it will renew in 30-day increments for the duration of the declaration of the state disaster emergency. It is resolution number 10. Is there any further discussion?
Just to kind of echo what you said about our logic and reasoning for taking this to 30-day extensions automatically instead of bringing it before us in special session at times. I just want to ensure the public that out of sight is not out of mind. We continue to work on this. We think about it every single day. We have meetings, we have discussions, we talk to the state, we talk to CCI, we talk to CDPHE. We are always in continual contact with our local Department of Public Health, and we will continue at least once monthly to bring updates to the citizens through this formal board meeting. So I just want to be very clear with that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham. Aye. Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is a public hearing, and it is scheduled for 10 o'clock, so we will take a 4-minute recess. Let's try this again. The hour has reached 10 o'clock. Call this meeting back to order. And we will now have a public hearing. It is for a request for a special review use 98007, Twin Environmental Major Modification. So I will open this public hearing. And I would ask the Twin Enviro to please come up and tell us what you guys have going on. Good morning. Would you state your name, please?
Good morning, Chris Brochus. How are you?
Good.
Morning, Chris.
Good morning. Turn on your microphone.
To advance it, okay. Do I need to plug it in, or is it all ready to go?
Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay, so basically what we're looking to do is we're looking to expand the landfill. Okay, we want to go up vertically. Right now, that's the way it looks. If you're coming from the east end looking west into the landfill, that's the way it looks. We want to cap that to essentially make it look like that. Now, that is going to be estimated around 2045 year. So again, that's the way it looks. That's the way we want it to look. We're not changing the footprint. We're just going straight up. Now this is from the crossroads right at 123 and 67, right there in that big parking lot. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it. So that's looking back at the hogback. Now, when we're done, that's the way it's going to look. That's essentially going to be the profile of the landfill when it's done, again, in like 2045. The expansion is going to add approximately 1 million cubic yards to the landfill. And that's from Highway 50. As you see from Highway 50, that's the way it looks right now. That's the way it's going to look when it's all said and done.
That's the berm in front of it? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I'm using the berm in front of it as a form of reference because I don't have really anything to reference from. The berm is about 5,700 feet in elevation. We're going to go up to 5,750 on the east end and 5,730 on the west end. Essentially, it's pretty squared off right now. When it's all said and done, it's going to be more rounded than anything. Squared on one end, I think I measured out at about 200 feet on the east end, and it's pretty well domed on the west end. And that's essentially all I had. I mean, any questions on that, or?
So how high is 1 million cubic yards? How high is that going to make it?
Elevation 5,750 on the east end, 5,730 on the west.
That's what that was, okay.
Yeah.
And it's going up from 57?
The hogback is 5,700 right now. The landfill's sitting at about 5,660, something like that.
Why don't you toggle that back and forth again on the okay.
Any other questions at this time?
Not yet, but I do have a list for later.
Not yet. Okay. All right. Thank you for a minute. Okay. All right. I'd ask for a staff report, please. Sean?
Good morning. So we have received all minimal requirements per the Fremont County zoning resolution. The department has 4 items of discussion notation. One is the visual impacts. That would be generally along County Road 67 and County Road 123. The berm on the south side that's existing now provides some mitigation impact to those visual aspects, and the department is recommending that berm rise in increase with the addition of the trash going up to maintain those visual impact and limit those. The other safety and security, so there is perimeter fencing along the boundaries of the property. Currently, that fence is sitting above the elevation of the property and the ground, so that would need to be raised up as that goes up vertically, just to make sure we keep that security and safety. One of the others is the department has gotten some complaints about debris leaving the site, especially to the east of there. Sometimes, unfortunately, the wind picks up and just catches little stuff. And so we do recommend that they increase the frequency of picking up trash along that area, which they have been doing. They've increased that quite a bit, and we haven't been receiving complaints as of lately. There's two contingencies for it. One is approval of the modification of the certificate of designation. The state has approved that. We're getting ready to start our 30-day notification on that, and then we can get that done. And then the other is approval of the stormwater drainage. There's just a few little minor things that's being reviewed right now. Contingencies or conditions, the department recommends the berm along the south side increases in junction with the vertical expansion in a manner where it exceeds the height of the working area at all times. The use of interior fencing and other measures be required and utilized to limit debris leaving the site. Cleanup of the surrounding areas increases in frequency, specifically to the east, and then the berm along the western boundary be increased as needed to maintain the limit visual impacts along County Road 67.
Any questions for Sean?
Let me ask your preference, Mr. Chair. I do have a list of questions. I would like to know if you want me to address these at this point, or if you would like to hear public testimony first.
Let's hear from the public, and then we'll go into this. Does that be right?
That works.
Okay, what we will do now is I do have these requests up here, and they are as they came in to the clerk. I would ask that when you come up that you address your questions to us, and then if there's any unanswered questions, we'll ask them of the applicant. So first, we'll start with, I believe it's James Horseman. Mr. Horseman, could you give us your, well, state your name and then your address so we know that where you are there?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is James Horseman. I live at 2210 County Road 67, Penrose, Colorado.
Okay.
My property runs about 1,300 foot of this southern boundary line with the dump, Twin and Barrow. Not a very good public speaker, but I did write down some notes. Hopefully I can stumble through it. I did take several pictures. The pictures they presented you are a long ways away. They're not up close pictures. Let me read my little speech that I kind of wrote up here first. Otherwise, I might get a little off track. Anyway, okay, where did I start here? Twin and Barrow was given 30 to 35 year lifespan. Okay, this was back in about 97 when they got approval. About 2000 they started. So you're about 20, 21 years into operation. So guess what? You're 2/3 of the way through the lifespan to this landfill. Twin and Barrow and the county knew the lifespan when they started this. So now you got about maybe 10 to 15 years left. Nothing lasts forever. It's bound to fill up. Going higher and maybe getting another 10 years out of this is not the answer. You're going to create problems. Twin and Barrow is not a good neighbor. They're a mediocre neighbor at best. Yes, they do police the trash on the highway and whatnot, but when the wind comes up, they'll close the dump. You can't come in and dump your trash. But what are you doing for dust suppression up there? You know, you'll see the big wind swirls, the fly ash flying all over and whatnot. So that's a huge concern, and they're not even to the top of the berm that they currently have. On the west end, they somewhat are, but on the east end, they're not. They're working from the west to the east, which makes sense because the wind comes from the west, and you know, anyway, huge concern. I've lived there since 1996. They're a mediocre neighbor at best. They have done absolutely nothing for vegetation on that dirt berm. Weeds grow on it. They don't water it. They don't plant any native vegetation whatsoever. Now, on that dirt berm to the east was the original natural ridge that was back there, and it tapered down as it went to the west. Some of that vegetation is there, but when they built the big, huge dirt berm, how I'm saying it's probably about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when they built the big, huge dirt berm. And my understanding was at that time, that was the end height of the landfill when it was full, okay? So my understanding, was that they were supposed to plant vegetation on that. Now, the 4-H club did come out one time, and my kids were in 4-H. And they planted some little sticks up on top, and they did run a little irrigation line there, but guess what? It didn't take, it didn't hold. They didn't keep up with it. So that's why I say they're a mediocre neighbor at best. On the west end, at the entrance, there's a dirt berm there with their so-called natural vegetation. All it is weeds. They've done nothing to enhance that. Right at the gate, and I got pictures for all y'all. You can look in there, you can see the trash pile there. It's manicured, but why have they not, in 20 years' time, planted some grass on that so that when the wind blows or it rains really hard, that it doesn't erode? And pretty soon, if you get too heavy of rains, which I already experienced when they built the big dirt berm 10 years ago, heavy rains, that dirt washes off that dirt berm. Where does it go? It goes south. Comes right across to all the property owners, and I own 1,300 foot of that. So I raised the question to them. Yep, they come out and they built a dirt berm, and it's probably about 6 foot high right behind my house. But that dirt berm only runs about 300 feet, and it tapers down on the ends. Now, when you get water running off that big, huge dirt berm, the whole length of it, that water goes south. It runs across everybody's property. So he's done nothing, or the landfill, I should say, has done nothing to retain water runoff. To me, there should be a solid dirt berm from the east end all the way to the west end with some kind of a holding pit to catch all that water runoff instead of letting it go across to everybody's property. So we have major issues here. Now he's here asking 2/3 of the way into the lifespan of this, I want to go higher. I want to go higher onto the east end. Not so much on the west, what I just heard right here. I want to go higher over here. That's only going to give him about 10 years. Okay, he said 2045. As it stands right now, 2030, 2035 would probably be about the end of it. Yep, y'all better be looking for a place to store trash. There's no doubt, you know. The lifespan is the lifespan. Y'all knew that, you guys did, you weren't in office at that time, but the county knew it, you know. Nothing lasts forever. So just raising that a little bit, just to line their pockets, is not helping the county. It's not productive for the county, you know what I'm saying. They're a mediocre neighbor at best, like I say. Their pictures are a long ways off, you know. Why don't they constructively work with the county officials to come up with a new landfill so that when this one is done and you close it out, you can immediately go back to some place for a new one, you know? To me, that would be a more logical, reasonable thing. It takes time, it takes money. I understand that. I run a business. I run a trucking company, okay? I'm not trying to run anybody out of business, but the thing is, if you're going to be in business, especially this business, you better do what you're supposed to be doing. Don't just be a good neighbor, be the best neighbor, the absolute top of the line neighbor. Not once has Twin Enviro ever came to my house and said, hey, what are your concerns about being an adjoining property owner? Not once has any Fremont County Commissioner come to my house and asked me anything about any future expansions or whatsoever. We got notification of this hearing 30 days ago. That was it. I'm a truck driver. I run a trucking company. Boy, I got to jump through all kinds of hoops to come up with why do I agree with this or why do I disagree with this. So I have very serious major concerns here. What he presented you, it sounds really good, yeah. When you're taking pictures from 2.5 miles away or a half a mile away, it looks really good. But get up close to it. I have pictures for you, gentlemen and ladies, if you'll let me
Sure, absolutely.
to give them here. There's test wells on the south side of this property.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now, they have to be tested periodically. I don't know what that is or whatever. That's between Twin Enviro and the county and whatnot. But one picture in there shows where one test well is almost buried by a dirt berm. Now, in the summertime, there has been times when the far east test well, they pump water out of. What are you pumping water out of there for? It's a test well. I don't know, there's a lot of weirdo questions that arise from time to time. Is it worth belly aching about? Well, maybe yeah, maybe no, I don't know. Has he got permission to do that? I don't know. But there's a lot of little things that need to be looked at here before you just grant him permission to expand on this. See if I left anything out. No, I don't really have any more. My thing is, the life expectancy of this was 30 to 35 years. You're 2/3 of the way through it. When it's done, plain and simple. Expanding that 100 foot to the east end a little bit is irrelevant in my book, you know? Nothing lasts forever. You're getting towards the end of it, it is what it is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next will be Esther Horstman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Esther Heusman. I reside at 2210 County Road 67 along with my husband. We have the biggest property line with Twin and Biro. As I was going through, actually, I went with the paperwork. I like going with the paperwork, the cold hard facts. So in here, he specifically states, well, and I've resided there since March of '09. And I'm going to tell you what I have witnessed and observed since March of '09. First of all, in here he says, oh, he has no ground tremors. Oh, how do you not have ground tremors? Well, I was about 2 months living there, and I sat there and I thought, oh my God, that's an underground explosion. What in the world? And it was just, you could just hear, you just feel it as it was coming in. Broke a toilet tank right in our master bathroom. I was like, ooh, that's not good. And then about 1.5 years later, I was in the guest bathroom, and same thing happened. I went, oh, that underground explosion. And then all of a sudden, whoop, popped another toilet tank. In the last 12 years, we have replaced 5 toilet tanks. And I believe the other 3, because I didn't witness that, but I probably went to the same ground tremors. Next, in here, he states, oh, no, he has a gas monitor. And you can see the flashing red light from the road. You can see it from our mailbox on 67. He sits there, and every single night during the summer, it goes off, beep, 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 and the flashing light just constantly. Now, as you go up our driveway, you can hear the beeping. However, whoever lives on 2.1 acres, that's like right next to their entryway on the Twin and Viro entrance, they are the ones who should be really pissed off because they have to listen to that every single night in the summer. Next, I want to address the fact that in here he states, honest to God, he says, oh, he doesn't have any stench. Well, in the summertime and there's no wind, it smells like rotting carcasses. Also, I want to bring up the fact that Monday through Friday, he gets 10 to 20 loads of out-of-county fly ash. Now, he's obviously using this fly ash to just cover his garbage. And because you can see it on windy days, because you'll see the garbage and the fly ash swirling around. And it's out-of-county fly ash because you remember in 2014, the electrical power plant went down here in Fremont County. So, and you were supposed to cover fly ash with dirt. That is actually proper. And anyway, also my husband has presented you with the pictures of the erosion due to the lack of vegetation and the uncontrolled water runoff. And actually, when I was reading this document, and it's obviously from 21 years ago, but the county commissioners at that time approved this whole thing to sit on shredded poisonous tires, 10 inches of it, instead of 6 inches of gravel and sand. Now, on the very back of the pictures there, I wanted to bring up something. There is a picture of a dump that is closed in Garwood, Texas. That is a proper, maintained, operated dump. It has a 16-foot wall, it's 10 of it's in the ground, it's all cement, it's 18 inches thick. And now that it's closed, it has the natural vegetation completely at a 30% pure metal arc or whatever out to the very end of the perimeter. And that is what it looks like when it's supposed to be closed, and that was properly maintained. So, and I just wanted that in there because if you don't know what right looks like, you will not understand what wrong is. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Claire Horseman.
Morning.
Good morning.
I personally,
Sir, would you tell us your name and where you live?
I'm Claire Horseman, and I live at 1530 Churchill Street in Williamsburg, Colorado.
Okay, thank you.
I and my wife own 5 acres of property right to the south of my son's out there in the Watersville subdivision. And I was involved in, let's say, fighting this landfill when it went in back in '97 and stuff. And this was put in, it was not supposed to go any further than what the natural berm that was already there. And they allowed them to go up so high, and they were supposed to put vegetation all along that. When they put this in, the slope of it goes up so steep, it should have been terraced to allow planting of shrubs, trees, grass, anything. It's got such a steep slope to it, it's almost impossible to plant anything on it now. And son talked about water erosion and stuff. And you look at the top of that now, there's places where it's all eroded off because they've got no way of containing the runoff so it doesn't erode that berm off. And like my son stated, when this was put in, it was expected to be like maybe a 30-year lifespan of the size of that. Now, initially they weren't supposed to bring in any fly ash, but right away he got okayed bring in county fly ash, and the only in-county power plant they had was the one here in Canyon City. Well, like Don said, that was shut down. But now they bring in semi-loads of fly ash. And if they are bringing in material that initially was not intended to go into there, and they've cut down the lifespan of that landfill, I see no reason to allow them to expand and continue operating past the existing lifespan of that landfill. I know the county shut down all their dumps they had and stuff in a big panic, and they didn't even have a place for it to go. TZAC put in a transfer station to handle the garbage for a while, and as soon as that landfill was put in, he shut it up. Now Howard Disposal, they got their own transfer station. All their material goes out of county. So when this is done, there's other means of taking care of the trash that's accumulated into this county. And I believe that it just needs to be ended when what the existing one is filled up, and that's it. Cap it off and be done with it. Because eventually you're going to have to find someplace else for it to go anyway. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Tom, I'm not going to try your last name.
I will. Mr. Piltingsrud, good to see you. Come on up.
Well, between that and your writing is not any better than mine, so I can't read my own either, so.
Should have been a pharmacist, or the doctor maybe.
Right?
My name is Tom Piltingsrud. I reside at 5019 County Road 123 in Penrose. Many years ago, when the State Department of Health forced the county to close its 2 existing dumps, one out at the Temple Canyon, the other one in Florence, the county was in a solid waste hurt. They had no place to put their trash anymore. Ed Tezak came forward and built a transfer station mid between Florence and the airport, and that was taking care of the trash. Les Lyman flew into town from Steamboat and pitched a landfill removed from the great populations of Florence and Canyon, yet close enough to make it economically viable. A landfill that would be hidden from view. Dakota Ridge on the north, Carlisle Limestone Ridge on the south, and nestled in between is a hidden landfill, visible only to the occasional spy satellite overhead. You could not see it from the south because of the Carlisle Ridge, and obviously the Dakota Ridge in the north would hide any view from the north. The occasional visitor on the Gold Belt Tour Road might catch a glimpse of the west side. So what do we have today? Well, today, instead of the occasional spy satellite viewing the landfill from overhead, Fred Smith can see the landfill from his house in Wetmore. We led the fight on this for the initial CUP. The county took the CUP under advisement and sent the technical review to the state, which is required for a certificate of designation. We took our comments based on experts that we were able to round up to the state and found out that the state had issued its technical approval before the end of the public comment period. Les Lyman knew about it before the commissioners did. After we threatened a lawsuit with the state, the Department of Health conducted a peer review in which we were allowed to present testimony. Les Lyman had touted this as a completely dry and barren site, completely hidden from view. Yet when he did his test wells for due diligence, he discovered water, the Greenhorn Aquifer which lies underneath this landfill. The state determined that more test wells would need to be drilled by Mr. Lyman to ensure the Greenhorn Aquifer would not be damaged. Instead of Mr. Lyman sending those test results to his laboratory, we convinced the state to require the split be sent to an independent testing laboratory. I've never seen those results. I assume the county gets them. I assume the Greenhorn Aquifer has not been damaged. I'm a little disturbed to hear he's pumping, because I don't think he has a pump. I don't think he has a permit to pump. But there is an aquifer underneath, a sizable aquifer underneath that landfill. In the largest and longest public hearing ever held in Fremont County at the Canyon City Middle School, over 2 exhaustive nights of testimony, the county denied Mr. Lyman's permit. We all went about our lives thinking this was a done deal, and lo and behold, a couple years later, Mr. Lyman comes back with the same hidden landfill, the Phantom landfill, the same location, the same design, the same technical review of the state, but he argued a change of condition, which allowed a conditional use permit, once denied, to be heard again. The protections of res judicata did not apply to us because Mr. Lyman had a changed condition. Everyone knew what the changed condition was. It was the elephant in the room. It was the election of Joe Rawl as commissioner. We knew what the other two previous commissioners had voted because one voted in favor and one voted to deny on the initial CUP. So everyone knew that Joe Rawl was the deciding vote. He was the change of condition. So we had another exhaustive public hearing, and the county approved the landfill. What the county approved was a landfill with a Dakota Ridge and a Carlisle Ridge hiding from view a landfill. What do we have today? Fred Smith looking at a landfill in Wetmore, from Wetmore. We have an ugly berm that has completely hidden the Carlisle limestone formation. The limestone formation is here. This berm is now like this, just completely covered that formation. What he agreed to build and what commissioners agreed to approve is not what we have today. In one of his conditions, he was supposed to provide landscaping, at least on the west side, to hide it from view from the Gold Belt Tour Road. That never happened. The initial vegetation on the Carlisle Ridge, pinyon, juniper, cholla, native grasses, blue grama, have been obliterated, and all we have now is a big mound of dirt. So, someday, this landfill is going to close. The question is, on whose watch and when? I submit that this modification has already been constructed. He's already covered up the south berm. He's already elevated above the height of the initial Carlisle Ridge. So this modification is already in progress. I think it's time to close this landfill. If Mr. Lyman wants to put a transfer station on the remaining amount of property that he has adjacent to the landfill, I think he should make application for a transfer station for his waste trucks. We already have a transfer station at Howard Transfer Station, so we have solutions. As an aside, I sat in the room with Joe Rawl and Les Lyman when we discussed conditions on this landfill. One of the conditions the commissioners and the planning commission made was that there would be no fly ash because it's deemed hazardous. We submitted that fly ash from the existing plant in Canyon would be permissible because they had no place to put it. And no other county's going to take it, which might be one reason why it's coming here. So I think you should at least deny him any more fly ash. No matter what you vote on today, I would hope that you condition a requirement to provide landscaping and erosion control on that southern berm. Otherwise, these poor people are going to continue to be inundated with water, trash, and anything else that runs off that berm. I just think it's time to close this landfill. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Toby Ormandy, is that right?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Toby Ormandy. I'm the wastewater treatment plant superintendent for Fremont Sanitation District. I'm here to support Twin Enviro and their expansion efforts. The ability to dispose of the biosolid waste that the wastewater plant, the Rainbow Park Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility generates is cost-effective. That we generate to be able to dispose of the waste in a cost-effective manner is a substantial benefit to Fremont Sanitation District and our ratepayers. The Rainbow Park Wastewater Treatment Facility, which is located east of Florence, provides sewage treatment for a service area that includes Canyon City, Lincoln Park, Florence, and the 13 correctional facilities in Fremont County. The facility treats on a daily average 3.3 million gallons, 60 cubic yards of biosolids. The close proximity of the Phantom landfill to our treatment plant and the reasonable pricing associated with that disposal method allows Fremont Sanitation District to keep our ratepayers' bills comparatively low. This cost savings makes it possible for Fremont Sanitation to continually improve our sanitary sewer system and to offer superior service to our ratepayers. The ability to focus on the system improvements and upgrades ensures better environmental protection, both for our community and for downstream water users. In the absence of the Twin Enviro landfill, Fremont Sanitation District would have to deploy alternative means of biosolids disposal. That could mean hauling the biosolids to a distant landfill if they would accept it. It could also mean incineration. We'd have to burn it up at the treatment plant. It could also mean that we'd have to treat it further so that we could land apply it. All of those things are very expensive, and we would have to pass that cost to our ratepayers. It would increase everybody's rates here in the community. So, in closing, I'd just like to say that any effort that Twin Enviro makes to extend the life of the Phantom landfill has the full support of Fremont Sanitation District, and the landfill's continuing viability benefits Fremont Sanitation District and the entire community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last paper I have, again, if anybody wants to talk that hasn't had a chance to yet, need to fill out a slip, there's some at the door, there'll be some at the counter. This is David Rooks.
Morning.
Good morning.
May I remove my mask?
Yes, sir.
My name is David Rooks. I live on Fremont County Road 132, 2378 County Road. I am the cattle ranch right next door to Twin Enviro to the east. I call in every week, every day, every month. The wind, the dust is not being controlled by water. The bags are still in the trees from the first day they started over there. I've asked the county many times for help. They have people out picking up trash, but they're inadequate numbers of people trying to pick up trash that is still sitting on the property from the first day they started. The fence, I've asked to be raised many times, but it's not. I have some letters from other people that live in that area, and I'm representing Quinn Slate. Has not been able to be here today, but he has sent a letter in to you people, I hope. He told me he has. But I'm here for the lady that used to own the property. Her name's Marcy Kelly. Very good friend of each and every one of us, and I think you all know her. And my cows have to carry these bags around in their mouth. I have to watch my cat carry this bag. It's not right for me to have to do that. But that is ag property. It was the day they started. And we need to do something. Raising it is not going to be the answer at this time because the wind just goes right to the east. And I don't know how to help everybody solve these issues, but you know, bringing trash in from Colorado Springs, putting in that dump, it's supposed to be for Fremont County, I thought. But you know, if we need to bring it in from Denver and Colorado Springs and everything, I understand, but it just don't seem right. The dump has tried to help, Chris. I've talked to these people every day, but it just ain't adequate enough to get these bags picked up. They won't stop. It's a every day today. Wind's blowing. It's an everyday issue. And I just wanted everybody to be aware of it. I don't know if you've ever seen these letters, but I'd like to present them to Debbie Bell if I could.
Sure.
You bet. And I will share these with the others.
As far as a letter from Quinn, I've not seen it, so I don't know if anybody else has. But
He
didn't-
called in, he works in Arizona for the state. The state will not allow him to leave the state because of COVID. He wanted to be here, but he cannot be because of COVID. But he did call in and talk to somebody in this courthouse. And I hope you guys can find that.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Rooks, these letters are dated almost 3 years ago. They're from March of 2018. Do you happen to have anything that's updated from any of them?
No, I didn't even know about this hearing. Nobody contacted me. And I've been dealing with the office up here that Roger, Dan, and but they were supposed to contact me when anything like this goes on. Nobody
In
did.
planning and zoning, is that what you're?
Yeah, planning and zoning,
Okay,
yes.
Okay,
But nobody contacted me. The only one that let me know was Quinn.
okay.
And that's only because he couldn't make it into town. And he'd like me to represent him and his grandmother that's no longer here. And I thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I thank my neighbors, because this is not quite right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last chance for anyone that hasn't been able to speak. Okay. All right. Chris, are you going to answer some of those concerns?
Okay, so where do you want me to start?
Well, there's a lot of questions there. You go ahead and start with what you can remember and what you don't hit. I'm sure we have written down that we can address those.
Okay, so as far as the wells go, all right, without looking at the pictures, I guarantee the one that you see buried is a silver box, about 4x4.
Here.
Okay, so. it's
That
okay.
one? Is that the one you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. Well, I think that's the one, without getting up there. So, all the silver boxes around the property are indeed wells, but they're monitoring wells. They're methane wells. We currently don't have any methane, but with that well being, partially buried, it doesn't obstruct the well in any way, shape, or form. As far as the far east well that we're pumping water out of, there isn't a water well on the far east. There's one on the south side, right behind Mr. Horstman's house. That's monitor well 19. That well, we did pump, to my recollection, when we built cells 5 and 6. I don't know, that predates me. I was just a lowly truck driver at that point. Yeah, that's it, as far as the pumping goes. And I believe that they went to CDPHE and with CWPDA and got permission to do that. As far as, the erosion and stuff like that goes, we've tried to seed that hill 5 or 6 different times. I've done it once. The manager that was in charge before me, you guys might remember him, Gary, he seeded it at least 4 times, if not 5 times. It just won't grow. It's sterile. And Mr. Horstman was right. 4-H did come out. They planted, I believe, 150 trees. 1 tree still remains to this day. All the rest of them dried up and went away. Now, that predates me. I can only talk about what I'm involved with.
How long is that? How long have you been manager of this?
2016, I believe. No, 2016, I was assistant manager. 2017, I took over GM.
Okay. Anything else before we start firing at you, I guess?
Fire away.
I'm going to have to read through.
That's okay. May I?
Yeah, absolutely.
We had someone discuss underground explosions there that mean that they're having to replace underground septic systems. Can you address that for us?
I have no idea. We had never had any type of explosions on that property at all, so I don't know where that originated from. I've never heard anything about that.
Okay. Do you want to address the fly ash issue for us, please?
Okay, so We bring in fly ash to solidify all non-hazardous liquids in our solidification basin, which is approved by CDPHE, by the county. That's what we use the fly ash for. We bring in approximately 3 to 4 loads a day. Liquids have fallen off this year. We're about 40,000 down normal. But anyway, that's why we bring in the fly ash, is to solidify liquids. From there, then it's taken up to the landfill and disposed of.
So if it's being used for that purpose, can you tell us why it's apparently getting into the air and flying everywhere? We had 3 or 4 people stand up and talk about the fly ash that's coming off the property.
There are times that the wind does blow. I mean, we all know, we all live here. Yesterday in particular, the wind, gale force winds, it was bad. We were closed. We can water it as much as we can, but it dries out and then again, it blows away. So we could probably do better, sure. But I mean, we're gonna have dust.
So Mr. Horstman said there was like 20 trucks of fly ash coming in. You said there's only 4?
Yeah, only 4 trucks a day. Well, there was a few weeks that we ran 2 trucks, so 8.
So you're having trouble with the vegetation. You've said that a couple of times. What are you doing for erosion on that berm then to keep it from eroding?
You know, we haven't really done much of anything with it, to be honest with you. I don't know what you can do. They're right, it's super steep. It's about 6 feet tall on the top. I do want to address that berm. I don't know how we're going to go up. If I understood Sean right, he said that we're going to go up with that berm. We don't want to go up with that berm at all. What we want to do is once we crest the top with the working face, what we'll do is we'll put a berm inside the existing footprint to shield the trash so it's not visible. We can't, there's no way to raise that berm.
That was a question I had as well.
So you're saying after you fill in on the north side of the existing berm, then you build a berm on top of that? On the inside?
Yes, on the inside
on the inside of the existing berm.
Yes, so as we go up with the landfill, they're all gonna be at a 4-to-1 slope. As we go up, we'll create, say, a 2-foot berm, 3-foot berm, whatever it ends up being. And then we'll backfill the trash to that. So in essence, what you get is, all you'll really see is just the compactor on top of trash. That's the idea.
So speaking of trash and the wind and the trash blowing, and you guys say, and Sean said they haven't had any complaints for a little while, but I did read somewhere, I think it was another complaint that we got on an email, was that they complained to CDPHE, but the trash blowing to the east, and you guys apparently make an attempt to clean it up, but it's not sufficient according to the neighbors.
Correct. I mean, that's what they say. We've got guys out there that do it. The problem is it's hard to find people that just want to walk and pick trash. It's next to impossible. We've actually reached out to a company called Questwell. They use individuals and find placement jobs for them. So that's what we're doing right now. We've had pretty good luck with it, better than normal. But I mean, that's where we're at. Currently, we're using what they call bull fences. They're movable. I believe there's 4 or 5 of them, Rick? 4. So what we do is we move those around and kind of corral the working face. But there are times that we get, gusts of wind that just pick trash up and take it.
I want to go back to the vegetation and the erosion. This is obviously the most visible part of the entire area out there.
Correct.
It is the barrier between you guys and the residents and the entire valley. So this is a problem. I use the landfill, and so I go out there and I see it, and I wasn't here at the original okay for the landfill, and I certainly wasn't on the commission in 05, 06, 07 et cetera. But I kind of see what the concern would be if I was living there, because I drive through there and I see that. I understand why it's there, but understanding what it should look like, this is a problem. So what are you, I mean, we can talk about, seed not taking and the ground being sterile. So what's the solution? Because that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, actually, I've talked with, I'm actually joined here by Ed and by Luke and by Rick, and Les is here also. We actually discussed this at some length last time Ed was down, and he brought up like a fabric type material that you can anchor in at the top and then drip down, and then it's got the seed and that type of thing in with it. We did try coconut blanket many years ago. It came off in a big sheet. It just blew away. It was staked down, anchored in just like it's supposed to be. It just blew away. Now again, I didn't have any hand in doing that, but it was used.
When was that?
Oh, you had to ask, didn't you? I'm gonna say 2010, 2012, something like that.
It's quite a while ago.
They did it soon after they raised the height of that hogback.
You see my point here. I mean, this is a long time, and no real solutions have been offered. It doesn't seem like anything's really been tried in a decade in order to do what was required in the first place.
To be honest with you, nobody's even brought the hogback to my attention at all. I've never had anybody ask me about it at all.
Be that as it may, this is what was required, regardless of whether somebody is knocking on the door of Twin Enviro asking them to do it because they have a problem with it. This is what was required originally. And because everybody else might be silent does not absolve anybody, the company, from doing what they were supposed to do.
I get it. Okay.
I have one question, and then I have a question or two for Sean, but
I still have a list
I
over
know,
here.
outside trash, are you taking trash from other counties?
There is trash that comes in from other counties, mainly residential haulers. I don't have any numbers for you right now because we just actually started pulling driver's license and figuring out, what's coming in. I know in the EDOC coming up for approval, that is said in there that Fremont County, that Phantom Canyon cannot take out of county trash. As it stands right now, that is not written in our DNO. We are allowed to take out of county trash.
Okay.
What about the county permit, though? Does the county permit say no out-of-county trash?
I would have to check and verify that. I'm not positive at this moment.
Okay. It has been a long time. Yeah, okay.
It's a Commerce Clause problem.
I also want to beat you up just a little bit about the way the berm looks. It's something that I drive Highway 50 quite regularly. I have family who live down that way, and I see it every time I drive. And so it is a problem. I mean, it continues to be a problem. Last fall, I had the opportunity to visit one of the gravel pits here in Fremont County, who has been moving and doing a lot of relocating and different things. I didn't realize until I went out and actually took a tour with the manager there that how much of that area already had been disturbed because they've done so much reclamation work with it. And the native trees have been returned, the native grasses have been returned. And I had a conversation with him at that time because he was like, yeah, we finished this one in '02 and this one in '05 and this one in... And I'm just looking at it going, but you can't even tell that any work was ever done. Mm-hmm. So I had a conversation with him, quite frankly, and I said, how is it that you guys can manage to do this reclamation and to return these natural vegetations when we have a landfill that does not do this? And he talked to me about working with an actual vegetation expert, someone who knows what the native grasses, plants, trees, seeds are, what will grow there, what will not grow there. So I'm curious to know if you actually are working with an expert on this, or if you're sitting around in a room, as you just kind of described to us, saying, well, what are we going to do now?
We are not working with an expert, no. Usually, when you, now, I can't speak on the south slope. The south slope, obviously, we need to do something with it. As far as the landfill goes, there's not a part of that landfill right now that's actually in closure, which is when you do your vegetation and your trees and that type of thing.
I really am talking about the south slope.
berm, yeah.
The berm, that's what everyone sees.
Okay.
That's what everyone complains about. It's not with the landfill itself, because that's not the part that they're seeing. I've been here now, this is my 11th year. I actually have had conversations with in the past with Mr. Lyman himself about that berm and about the fact that there are no grasses, there are no trees, there's nothing growing on that. Every time we have this conversation, we're told, we're gonna get on that, we're gonna fix it, we just haven't found the right thing yet. I am highly distressed to know that you have not, and you are not taking steps to actually work with some kind of an expert to get the problem fixed.
I actually wasn't familiar with the conversations that you had with Mr. Lyman, so I'm sorry.
Okay. I do have a couple of other questions for you. We have a written testimony that says an original condition was, well, included a 50-cent per load surcharge for recycling. Is that accurate? Do you know? Does that, no? Not ringing a bell? Okay. Okay, I do have a couple of questions for Sean also, but I have one more for you. So your application states that you still do have 10 years of useful life, and this would take it to 35, I believe. Is that correct? Okay. So I'm curious to know why last year, when we as a county were trying to organize our annual trash cleanup for Fremont County citizens with the city of Canyon City, we contacted you, our county manager contacted, maybe not you specifically, but someone. We were told you had no capacity to work with us on trash vouchers for Fremont County, and now we're being told you still have a 10-year useful life of the current property. So I'm curious to know why we're getting those mixed messages.
Okay, so when you guys were trying to do the city voucher thing, we were at the very top. It was the last of the last, and quite frankly, the volume that was going to come in from the county vouchers would have filled that up, and we would have been completely out of space. When you guys did that, we were actually in the process of constructing half of cells 7 and 8, which is the last 2 permitted cells that we have. We are currently, that's done, that's constructed, and that is why. That's the primary reason why.
If you were running out of room so desperately, why did you wait so late to finish constructing those 2 cells?
We actually started 2 years ago. We got shut down because of snow and weather conditions and that type of thing.
Okay.
So on that note, I had a question too. Whether I give you a voucher to take your trash or you take your trash on your own, it's the same trash.
Right.
It's going to fill up the same amount. Well, I guess the vouchers maybe get more out there, which normally wouldn't go. Is that what your worry was?
Correct. I mean, when the vouchers thing started, I actually showed up on a Saturday quite a few years ago. I wasn't even in charge. Just on a whim, I went out there, and this is when we had, remember the old scale shack that we used to have there? So coming from the scale shack, which was clear up on top of the hill, all the way down to the gate, there was a line of people with the vouchers. It's because it's free.
It does create interest.
It does.
Okay, I do have some questions for Sean.
I got a couple for Sean too. We may have to come back to you, but that's it for a minute, I think.
Okay.
Sean and Debbie asked one of them, is outside trash part of the original deal? The other one I have, we obviously have established that vegetation is part of the original, and it's not happening. The other is the fly ash. What is this? What was that in the initial SRU? I know you may not have these off the top of your head, but these are questions that we'll need to have answered. Yeah, don't give me the wrong answer.
I
If you
don't
know
recall
it, we
exactly
have
off
to look it up.
the original approval on the fly ash. I know we've had quite a few little modifications. Some of those modifications were to that certificate of designation too, and the fly ash was part of one of those. The exact date on that, I'm not positive on at this time.
Well, these are, like I said, things that we'll just need complete clarification of. You don't know for sure. Debbie?
Okay, couple of things, Sean. First of all, one of the recommendations to attach to this is, I'm sorry, it's either a condition or a contingency. I don't have that in front of me. But it's requesting stepping up the cleanup and an increase in frequency. So I'm not sure that would be definitive enough, I guess, for me, because an increase in frequency could mean one additional time a year, and they've met the letter of the law. And I'm curious to know what your opinion is on that.
And we could set that they'd have to do it a certain amount of days or certain hours of a day, and that may be better suited for that. Okay. The main concern from the department standpoint is just make sure that we're increasing that frequency and then getting that trash picked up to limit impacts.
Okay, thanks. I also saw the letter here from our Fremont County Department of Transportation Director, Tony Adamick. He had a couple of statements there that I'm just confused about. And so again, I'm not certain that you can actually answer the question. We may need to wait for an answer on this. First, he mentioned an asphalt overlay. His letter states it still is a requirement. The way that it's written, I'm just not sure if that overlay actually has been done or if we're still waiting for that overlay all these years later.
So the overlay has not been completed, to the best of my knowledge. So when the application was originally approved, it was agreed upon, and there was a condition set that they would pay for a portion of the maintenance on County Road 67, County Road 123, and County Road 132. That condition was modified at a later date and was just implied on for just County Road 67. But the asphalt overlay has not occurred at this point.
All right, and then the other thing Tony mentioned was a tracking mat, I believe 175 feet in length, to help remove mud from trucks as they were exiting and keep the mud off of county roads. Do you know if that's been completed?
I believe there is the tracking mat out there.
Chris, come to the microphone, please. Thanks.
Sorry, I forgot to take my hat
That's
off
okay.
last time I was up here. It's rude. Anyways, we don't have a quote-unquote tracking pad. What I've done is I've actually gravelled with 1.25 inch rock all the way up and around, all the way to the working face. The mud has been cut down drastically, if not totally. We haven't had to scrape the roads in a while.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any other questions of Sean or Twin Enviro? Okay, I will close this public hearing.
I do have a motion.
I'm ready for your motion.
Whenever you're prepared, let me.
I am ready.
Mr. Chair, I kind of feel as though I have some questions that have been unanswered. I think we need to do a little bit of research on what the original conditions and qualifications were for this. I just feel as though my particular questions have probably not been answered in full. I feel the need to get those answers. I also feel the need to think a little bit more about some of the questions that have been brought forth from the public. I think this is one of those public hearings that we may, I'm not definitely saying we will, but we may need to create actual findings to help us guide our answer. And so for all of those reasons, Mr. Chair, I move to table this meeting or this decision to
23rd.
I guess I would ask if the 23rd will be sufficient.
That's our next meeting. That's 2
Yes.
weeks.
If that would give us
Sean,
time.
does that give you enough time to research some of these questions that we brought up?
To table to the next meeting this month?
Yes.
Okay, I move to table this to February 23rd.
And I will second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded to table the request for the SRU 98-007 for Twin Enviro major modifications to February 23rd because we have some unanswered questions that we need to find out from the original SRU. Any further discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Grantham.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
With no further business before us, we are adjourned.